my gosh, okay, hi. So we are live. You have to excuse me because this is my very first Facebook Live video. So I apologize for anything that will inevitably go wrong. Yeah, so thank you for joining, whether live or, watching the video that I will post later. So this is the official launch party for Hitting Close to Ohm, which is my new blog. So my name is Michaela, if you don't know me already. And yeah, so I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself and the blog, what inspired me to start this blog. And then I'd be happy to take some questions, so feel free to send those in. And just because this is what it's all about, I will also do a quick couple-minute guided meditation, so stick around for that. Yeah, so this blog is for anyone who is beginning their journey of personal growth and development, specifically the perfectionists. Those with imposter syndrome, anxiety, whatever, because that is basically who I am, will ever be. So the website is basically where I am going to put all of my thoughts and feelings, experiences, all the things that I have learned in order to well, for one, help myself, and then two, to help anybody else who, cares to listen. So I broke it down into four main categories, the mind, body, soul, and connection. You tend to hear the first three together, mind, body, soul, or spirit, because those are, the really, main parts of the personal you. You need a healthy mind, you need a healthy body, and you need fulfillment for your soul in order to have, a fulfilling life, a happy life, in order to grow. However, the fourth category, connection, I think is also very important. Humans are innately social beings, but it's not just our connection with each other that I want this to be about, because equally important is our connection to nature and, our environment. And I don't just mean like, sustainability, the climate change, all that. I mean our home environment. It's important to have, a happy home, to have, a good relationship with the things around you, the material things in life, as well as, things that, maybe we wish didn't existed but inevitably do, like, money. What's your relationship with money? And finances and all of that. So this is obviously very broad. There's a lot of things that I want to explore with this, but I'm hoping that it can bring some benefit to other people. I know it definitely will bring some benefit to me, because I look all over for different information. I read a lot of self-help books, I watch documentaries and everything. And then, of course, I have my own mental health team, like my therapist, executive functioning coach, physical therapist, I would say counts, and, all of my medical doctors too. So I get, all of these inputs from different areas, so just having the ability to bring that all together and, consolidate it, take the time to reflect and write about it. It helps reinforce what I've learned and, put all of the different advice together in order to, help me find my own way forward. So, that was a long intro. But yeah, so basically, one of the big reasons that, I wanted to start this blog and, sort of the way that I'm perceiving it is, I've been on my own self-growth journey for such a long time, although, taking baby steps, if that, at times, sometimes I might take a step back too, but it was always very intimidating. Unfortunately, I was just like, instilled with this like perfectionism, and inevitably with perfectionism comes procrastination. I can't wait to write about that because I just listened to a podcast this morning about it and it was fantastic. Anyway, so coming up. But basically all of like the documentaries I watched and, the professionals I sought help from, the, self-help books, it seems like even like the bloggers on video, on the video bloggers on YouTube, telling you how to like, clean, healthy eating and all of that stuff. It just seems like I'm standing at the base of a mountain and keeping my eyes on the very top. And that's, at least from my perspective, that's where all of these mentors are. I'll just collectively call them mentors because I'm, seeking advice from them. So they're all at the top of this mountain, living this, what I perceive as like the perfect life. And I'm like, how the hell did you get there? And it just, like, when you're looking straight up, at the top of this mountain, it seems so impossible, or it just seems so terrifying that, like, it's really hard to, like, just take the first step. But what you don't see is the journey that those people have been on. And, unfortunately, the thing is that, like, even, most of these people will talk about their journey, but it's so hard to, like, really like understand that when like all you see is like where they are now. So I think, just reflecting on what I wanted, myself, the kind of mentor I wanted was, rather than trying to follow in the footsteps of somebody who's already made it to like the top or close enough, reflecting on their journey that started 10 years ago, I'd rather follow someone who's maybe just a few steps ahead, that's sort of learning as they go. And that way it sort of feels like we're on this journey together to get to the top, or at least to get pretty close. So that's what I'm hoping I can be for, all of you, although I'm not going to say that I am a couple steps ahead on everything, like I'm definitely not. And, I'm really hoping to have more two-way communication, and learn from, everybody else who chimes in from time to time, because I know for sure that there are a lot of us on this mountain, and, I want us all to be a team and, make it to our own personal goals, whether that's just, some overview sort of halfway up the mountain or all the way at the top, wherever it is your goal wants to, lead you. I want us all to, like, help each other get there. So that's the idea for this blog. So moving on, I'd be happy to take some questions. And I guess to start off, I was sent a couple ahead of time. So I'll start with that. So how did I start my journey to mindfulness, wellness, etc.? Oh boy, okay, that would be a very long answer. It really started with struggle. You can go all the way back to my childhood and, always knowing there was something wrong and, just seeking help. I think that's really the first step is honestly, well, first of all, acceptance, awareness and acceptance that you have a problem or you're not getting to where you want to be. But I think, before you try doing things on your own by doing like detox stuff or whatever, it's really important to seek professional help. Therapy is so important, and I wouldn't have been able to start my own personal growth if I didn't seek professional help to get over those major hurdles that come from our experiences in childhood as our brain is developing. That's such a vulnerable time. And you need professional help to get you past those, those negative things that you learned as you were developing. So that's how I would say, if you haven't already seen a therapist, that's where you should start. And not only, will they help you get over those major hurdles, but they will also help you to, reflect on what it is you do want out of life, right? And, help you pinpoint the areas where, you can focus your energy on improving. So that's definitely the best starting point, I'd say. And then, breaking it down into like the categories that I have on my website, with the mind, I think the most important thing is, your stress levels. Because you need to have a calm mind in order to see things clearly, in order to understand things clearly. So getting rid of your stress and taking the time every day to, get rid of that stress, or like, at least try to release some of that tension. It not only has, benefits for, your peace of mind, but it has like physiological benefits too. I actually took this online class called the Physiology of Yoga at NYU, and it was all about, the benefits of yoga, but basically the benefits wasn't just like in like, the yoga movements themselves, but in taking the time to release your stress, because stress does awful things to the body. And obviously when, you're stressed so much, you're never going to get that fulfillment that your soul needs either. So that's really important to find some, ways that work for you to minimize your stress every day. Tips for beginners. Okay, I guess I can give some tips on, what I do for stress relief. So the one thing that, my sister and I learned when we were very young, our very first therapist, was to, take time to breathe. Karen, I think was her name. She taught us to, in our minds, count to 10 as we breathe in and count to 10 as we breathe out. And that was really the first time, like, I noticed, like, wow, like, breathing, just taking the time to breathe deeply can, really calm you down so much. So, there's so many different kinds of, breath work you can do. There's one that I heard on a podcast recently where you, like, trace your fingers. You breathe in and then breathe out, breathe in and breathe out. Slowly, of course. But, breath work is probably the number one way to, release your stress. And, other things could be like yoga, could be, artistic things like drawing or painting, coloring. You just find, what works for you. But anything that's sort of, takes your attention, out of your head and into like the present moment, that's what's going to help you with your stress. So recommendations for products. So I'm trying to go zero waste. That's sort of been one of my major New Year's resolutions. So instead of trying, specific products, unless I feel like it's absolutely necessary, I am trying to find, things that I can just use around the home. Repurposing things. I recently got some books on, giving me some guidance on how to do that. The one book is called Attainable Sustainable. It's a National Geographic book. It's actually behind me, although you can't see it with the sun on it. But yeah, I would definitely, I would suggest getting some sort of home gym equipment, a yoga mat, yoga blocks, yoga strap. I love yoga. Or, if you're into like weights or something. But I think like with, exercise, you don't really like need material things for it. But, recommendations for, where to look for, advice. sometimes you do need some advice from like professionals and like people who actually know what they're talking about and aren't just figuring it out on their way. I would definitely recommend, I love podcasts and documentaries. So one of probably the greatest podcasts I listen to is called Life Kit from NPR. And it's just like short 10-20 minute episodes all about different topics. There's topics on, what I was listening to this morning on, procrastination. And then there's some on anxiety and whatnot, but then there's also some on how to keep your plants alive or how to read more, things like that. And I did listen to both of those because I don't know how to keep my plants alive. It's just sort of a gamble. Yeah, so definitely, I would definitely recommend those. And TED Talks, I live for TED Talks. I actually downloaded the app to keep track of all of my favorite ones. And depending on what you're interested in, what topics you're interested in, there are so many great documentaries out there. I'm lazy, so I just always go to Netflix and find what's on there, but I know there's a bunch of other ones that are on other streaming platforms. But some of my favorite ones, I guess for, climate change, Mission Blue really had, a big impact on me. It was more about, the ocean and plastic in the ocean, the coral reefs dying. So that's kind of negative, but it does have a good message, so it's very touching. And for diet, I'd say my favorite so far was called Forks Over Knives. I thought it was a really catchy title too because when it talks about knives, it's referring to surgery, and forks referring to our diet. So it talked about the U.S. healthcare system, and how, we don't treat the cause of illness, we just treat the symptoms, and it's usually, with some sort of surgery because, we get all these heart diseases and, obesity and all these things from our diets, which leads to going under the knife. And then, Forks Over Knives follows these two doctors that have done all these studies on, a plant-based diet. And, they show you how changing your diet can help you, avoid all of these illnesses. So it's very health focused. And then, oh my gosh, I can just keep going on about a million of these, but the last one I want to mention is called The C Word. And, the C word stands for cancer. And it's, all about, what really causes cancer and, how you can try to prevent it. And obviously the diet, exercise, and decreasing stress, that will save you from most things, right? Easier said than done, of course. But the fourth thing that I hadn't thought about, and now I'm not able to stop thinking about it, is toxins. The intake of toxins. You have to decrease your intake of toxins. And it really went into information on, fragrance. This, it's given the, benefit of being called a trade secret, so they don't have to tell you, companies don't have to tell you what's in fragrance, but if you look at the ingredients, that's all it will say is fragrance. But in it could be, just one chemical or 500 million chemicals. And, the US is so bad at banning chemicals that are known to be harmful to us. And unfortunately, it's in everything. It's in our paint, it's in our fragrance, it's in, what's put on our clothes when we buy them to keep them fresh or whatever. It's everywhere. It's ridiculous. So I'm looking more into that because that's something I don't know much about, but watching The C Word really brought that to my attention. Yeah, okay, so that's the last documentary I'll talk about. What's your favorite personal growth or mindset podcast? Well, one I started listening to recently is called The Happiness Lab with Dr. Laura Santos. So she is a teacher or professor at Yale. She taught that very popular class called The Science of Well-Being, which I'm auditing online right now, actually. So the podcast is, by that professor, and she has, talks about her own thoughts, but also brings in a bunch of, experts from different areas. One I recently listened to was with Tara Brach. If you don't know her, she is, a very well-known sort of Western Buddhist, meditation teacher. She has this, approach to meditation called RAIN, which stands for, let's see if I remember, recognize, nope, don't remember. But yeah, I'll definitely write a blog on that because it was really interesting to hear. It's RAIN is something that you can do just like in the moment to take yourself, out of, whatever it is you're feeling, to pause and reflect and to, let go of those emotions that, are controlling you in the moment. So that's definitely one I'd suggest. There's a million more. But again, I don't want to keep rambling on because I know that's boring. Toxins, yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely going to write about toxins. I'll have to find exactly where it fits, probably under body, but yeah, it's crazy. Just the lack of regulation. Honestly, watching there was another one too, but watching that documentary and one that was on a similar topic, I literally started Googling how to move to Canada afterwards because I was like, the lack of regulations in this country is terrifying. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely something important, something I want to learn more about. Yeah, yes, Europe has really strict standards on that. And unfortunately, it isn't here. I don't know if, like, what was strange is there was the free trade in the free trade agreement with, was it with ASEAN, I think, in Asia? A while ago, it was during the Obama years that, they were making a big deal about that. But what was happening simultaneously that really didn't get any press coverage in the US, which is strange because it was everywhere in Europe, was called TTIP, the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. So it was a free trade agreement between the US and the EU. And the reason why it was such a huge, hot topic in Europe at the time was because our lack of regulations, our extremely low standards, and what that would mean for the European market. Because if we're going to have like free trade, then, our regulations need to match. And, I remember reading, because I was in Europe at the time, so that's why, it was like such a shock seeing the difference between like the, coverage in journalism on TTIP. But there was a big talk about, the chemicals we put on our chicken. So, yeah, I mean, it's shocking that wasn't really a big topic here. Obviously, that was tabled when Trump took office, but, we'll see where it goes. But you have to forgive that tangent because I am a foreign policy, master's holder. So it's a fun topic for me. But yeah. So we have about 5 minutes left, so I wanted to move on to a quick guided meditation. Of course, I'd be happy to take more questions, later on. Feel free to comment on any of my posts or, social media, contact me page, all of that. I definitely want to, hear what everyone has to say. So, and now we will get into our meditation. So one moment. Okay. Okay. So take a moment to get comfortable in your chair or on the floor, wherever you're sitting, and relax. Take a deep breath. Put your feet flat on the floor and feel your feet being in contact with the ground underneath you. Put your palms face up on your lap. Just pay attention to your breath, the rise and fall of your stomach. So start by focusing on your toes. Scrunch them up and release. Move up to your ankles, calf muscles, your knees, your thighs. And if you have any thoughts appearing in your head, just notice them and let them move on. Begin to notice any tension you may have in your back, your pelvis. Breathe in deeply, and as you breathe out, slowly relax and release any of the tension you may have. So lift up your shoulders and release them completely along with your breath. Relax your neck and your jaw. As you breathe out, let go of the tension that you're holding in your neck, in your face. Hunch up your shoulders one more time, and as you release your shoulders, release any remaining tension. Let it sink down and flow out of you. Take a few more deep breaths and enjoy the relaxation. Again, notice your belly expanding as you breathe in. Now bring your attention back to the room. Begin to notice any sounds around you. Maybe the birds chirping outside, cars driving past. Take one last deep breath and open your eyes. I hope you feel nice and relaxed, and thank you so much for joining me. I'm very excited to start my new blog, and I hope you all get something out of it. It's a very exciting moment for me. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye!